What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Read Reviews podcast. So a little explanation for what went down last week. You guys, well, you will now since I've uploaded. It's weird things thinking about it in my brain with everything going on. But I did not upload last week's episode because my dumbass fucked up everything. We're supposed to be watching Severance, and we're going to be reviewing the first season of Severance in this episode today. We were going to review the first couple episodes of Severance last week, but long story short, I'm not going to dive into the weeds and everything about it. But basically, I watched the first episode of Severance, and then I watched season 2, episode 2 of Severance. It was pretty embarrassing, not going to lie.
Jump.
You'll see the podcast come out. I am very flustered. We were very lost, and we ended up just kind of cutting it real early because it was a shit show. So I apologize for all that, and I didn't upload it because I was kind of embarrassed, and I didn't put it in a priority, but we're going to upload these both at the same time. So you're going to get episode, whatever it is, 21 and 22 at the same time, both about Severance. Yeah,
kind of
it was
a lot being
yeah,
said.
it was tough. Yeah, Cody had a little. I might have spoiled things for Cody. Actually, I definitely did a lot, and myself. And actually, it's part of the reason why it took me so long to finish watching it all because I was still just so devastated and pissed about having spoiled myself. And I was like, God, I just feel like I fucking ruined it. So I watched like 7 episodes today.
I think I immediately knew I liked the show, so I made an effort to be like, I'm gonna probably cruise through this. Hopefully,
Let's power through.
and I think what's good is that even with how you did the pilot and then season 2, episode 2,
It's just
there's
wild.
so much happening in this show that what you saw was like a lot,
A big spoiler.
a lot,
Yeah.
but it's still like, not, like honestly, that detail past that episode, it's like, okay, yes, it's a lot.
It's
but
like
it's not as big as like the grand scheme of what's happening.
It's like having seen a prequel and knowing what happens, but seeing the story and the context filling in.
Yeah.
The show is good enough to where it didn't matter. But let me do my quick little one-off because I did watch a couple episodes of another show, and we're going to go through this pretty damn quick and then get into Severance because I really want to talk about that, and that was the whole point of last week and what we're doing this week. So we're going to just jump into what I actually watched today also. I finally had my first full day off of work in about 3 weeks.
Wow.
Because I've just been working way too much. So today I was like, I'm just going to fucking watch TV shows. I watched two episodes of Daredevil and 7 episodes of Severance all today. Yeah. I just fucked off on the couch. Dylan and I went and got some lunch. Dilly, say what's up on the cam up there, by the way. Because Dylan's going to participate a little bit in this too because he's all caught up on Severance. We're just going to be talking about season 1. But the other show that I watched today was Daredevil Born Again. And this one was super random. I didn't even know that it had come out because like I used to be super into Marvel. We've had these conversations. I'm not as much anymore. So I didn't actually know that it had come out, and I just saw on my phone when I woke up in the morning, Daredevil review, Daredevil blah blah blah. The first 2 episodes came out. So I watched both of those. And if you've seen those, the original one that was on Netflix, it's fucking dope. And people really liked it. It was well received back in the day when it came out. It's been 10 years since that came out, by the way.
10 years?
10 years. 2015 is when it came out.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, so a little bit after a few years after Avengers, I think. I think maybe the same year as the second Avengers movie. But yeah, people really love Charlie Cox. And, oh my God, actually, I don't remember his name. The guy that plays Wilson Fisk. He's the Wilson Fisk. He's the guy who is in, have you seen Full Metal Jacket?
Yeah.
So he's the retarded dude who shoots himself.
Private Pile.
That they break. Yeah, that's his name, Private
Pile.
Damn, you got it there. Yeah, and they break his brain. I forget what that actor's name is, but he's awesome. But he plays Kingpin in the show, and everybody loves Charlie Cox and that guy as the duality that they have on the show. And so the Daredevil Born Again it's kind of hard to explain because it's a little bit weird, especially with all of Marvel stuff. It's always weird. It's not season 4.
That's what I was going to ask.
But it's kind of a season 4.
Because it's a continuation.
It's a continuation, but it's
not the same show.
Yeah, because, if you really wanted to get into the weeds of Marvel nonsense stuff, Kingpin has been in, which is the Wilson Fisk character in the Daredevil show. He's been in a couple of other shows and a couple of things, and he technically died, but now he's not dead.
Oh.
Well, it's all weird stuff. I guess they try to write it off as like, oh, I was in the hospital for 6 months, and I didn't know anything that was happening. But now I'm back, and I'm going to take care of stuff or whatever. But it's really cool because since the Marvel acquisitions of Fox and all that stuff, it's one of the first, I think that probably Deadpool 3 was the first like Disney product that came out as a rated R movie.
Yeah.
This show is a TV MA14 or whatever the ratings are for television shows. Mm-hmm. So it's a rated R TV show too. So it's another Marvel thing, Disney thing that is actually like, you know, how we were talking about last week a little bit, how you want them to be, or not last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, how you want when we were talking about Captain America, how you need it to be a little bit more real. Like if somebody gets a shield thrown at their neck and they don't even have a bruise. Yeah. It's like, okay, we got to have it be a little bit more realistic. Yeah. This show is gritty. This show is grimy. It's a little bit dark. It's not as dark as the show was initially. Quit fucking with the people down there, Dylan.
Shouting out Coors Light.
I think we got enough of a shout out right here.
I was just
Isn't Daredevil too? It's like he's blind.
He's blind,
but he's kind of just a dude. Is he like super trained, like in fighting? He's like a god mode fighter or something.
Yeah, basically. I think I am never sure if he actually has like super hearing. I'm pretty sure he does, but like super hearing and super senses because all of his senses are heightened because he's blind. Yeah. So like he can hear people's heartbeats. He can tell when people are lying, like one of those kinds of things. He can hear people talking in a building next to him. So I kind of assume it as superhuman hearing. Like I think he's supernatural.
Yeah, I feel like the super aspect comes from just heightening everything to that extent. Like that's not realistic, but he's blind. Heightened senses and a superhero would do that.
Yeah. He has kind of like sonar, so like the noises that they make, they bounce off, and he can see them from that. But it is, and I'm not going to spoil stuff because it's actually pretty cool what happens at the beginning of it. But it takes off like, I don't know. I'm guessing it's probably 10 years canonically after that old show ends and shows where him and all the characters were in the Netflix show where they're at now. A bunch of shit happens. They introduce a few new characters. Wilson Fisk, the bad guy, comes back. He talks to his wife. He actually ends up becoming mayor. There's all these really cool dynamics. And, like, they know each other. It's so nice and refreshing when you get to see a Marvel thing where they don't have to go through the origin stories. You just come in and they're like, okay, this is where we're at. And, like, everything's done. Something basically happens in the first episode that makes him be like, I'm not Daredevil anymore. I'm done with this. Like, it's kind of one of those superhero cliche story things. Mm-hmm. But it works because the intro scene that they have in the beginning of the first episode where the thing happens is really cool. But it's just kind of him living his life without all that stuff, not having Daredevil, but then Wilson Fisk, the bad guy, comes back, and then he kind of has to start taking up the mantle. And even 2 episodes in, since the intro of the first episode, we're 2 episodes in, we haven't even seen him in his costume, which normally in like a Marvel thing, you're like, okay, well, I'm here to watch a superhero thing. I want to see the dude in the costume fucking up bad guys. Yeah. But in this, I think it works because it's a lot deeper, darker story and kind of
You've already seen it before, at least.
Yeah, you've already seen 3 seasons.
Not like everyone's dying to get to the moment.
Exactly.
There's plenty.
Yeah, and he's been in a couple other Marvel products as well, actually. He was in the last Spider-Man movie. So I actually kind of like where they're going with this, and it's like showing him slowly building, and because Daredevil Born Again is what it's called, so it's supposed to be him quitting being Daredevil and then like having to come back born again. And if you know a little bit from the comics, that means he comes back as like a more fucked up, deeper, darker Daredevil, where it's almost like kind of not hero-esque, which I think is cool to see where that ends up taking him. The action's super cool. The choreography is awesome. They're known for their one-shots. Their one-shot fight scene things, and it's a really cool perspective that they show in the beginning. And it's the first 2 episodes are just him like slowly more and more things happening to him to where he's like having to come back and be Daredevil, but like hopefully, I don't know exactly, but where I'm leaning is that like he's gonna be a bad Daredevil.
Well, seems like he's gonna like get pissed that he has to do it, and that's like.
And he's gonna go
good for him to be in a pissed off mood.
And it's gonna be dark, and like he does fucked up things, and he becomes kind of the problem. And I'd like to see where that story ends at. But that's all I want to get into with that, because we're not gonna do spoilers, dive too deep into it. We're gonna talk a little bit about Severance, Daredevil Born Again, one of the Marvel highlight things. I think rarely in there. I know I was a little bit higher on Captain America than most people were coming out after Gavin and I realized a lot of people did not like that movie. Gavin and I liked it a decent amount, but Daredevil Born Again, I think, is actually like a pretty quality show. So if you're into that stuff at all, go check it
Daredevil, I can already see is like I would enjoy it more.
You would, yeah.
I think I know that.
There's no, so he has this, I don't know, he has this stick that's probably like 3 feet long, and it separates, and there's like a cord into it, so he can like grab people with it, and pull it back. He swings around with it like Spider-Man. It's a little. That I was gonna say that's probably the only dumb like CGI like weird Marvel bullshit that's in it, because he like comes in swinging in to kick a bad guy while he's swinging from his stick, and I'm like, this is a little, whatever, doesn't matter. But yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty grounded. It's a lot better. It's more of a real story, a bit more intense, and the whole rated R thing is a little nice. It's not a very rated R. It's like a very light rated R thing. But.
As long as it's not like geared towards children, it's probably
No.
better off.
No.
I'll like it more.
Somebody left a comment on one of the one of the TikToks that I posted when we were talking about how we'd like it to be a little bit more realistic when somebody punches somebody and like they actually have a bruise or they bleed a little bit. And then somebody comments on it. I was like, this is so funny because I don't have anybody that watches or actually comments that are random people. And he's like, oh yeah, let's have more gore and violence in our children's movies. I'm like, dude, that's not even, it's not even close to like what we were saying in there.
Yeah,
I
want them ripped and torn in half and guts and blood like spewing. It's not like that.
That's not what we're not saying. It needs to be like Logan. I was just saying it just needs to be a little like somebody needs to get bruised or be bloody when they huck a vibranium shield.
It's true. When I watch Captain America literally toss this insane shield and they're like, bunk, whoa.
Yeah,
it's like
they're like,
no, they
whoa.
like you need to like get knocked out. I need to like watch him. I don't know. There's just ways to go about it that are different. And it's not
just
like,
make it a little.
It's just funny. It's the polar extremes of like, oh yeah, well then we're gonna do this, or like it's either all gore or nothing.
Yeah,
it's
I was like, dude, come on, let's meet in the middle here a little bit.
Have a happy medium.
And I doubt that guy actually watches my channel, but we'll see if he comments. Hey, shout out to you, man. If you comment again, I'll probably remember your name, and we'll bring you on the podcast. You give me a guest. we could have our debates on here. We'll fly you out to Spokane, Washington. But let's get into Severance. So I gave you a little bit of the rundown of my shit show of watching Severance the first time. Cody is fully caught up. He's watched every episode of Severance that has come out. I have watched, I'm going to say the first season. I wasn't able to watch the very last episode of the first season because I just ran out of time. But I'm like 99% sure I know pretty much everything that happens in the last episode just because of what I've seen as spoilers in season 2.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go full spoilers in season 1. If you talk about anything in there, like that's full fair game.
I'll
for you
do
guys.
my best because I can explain it, but boy, does a lot happen in the season 1 finale.
Yeah,
So.
and I can imagine. So let's just start up. By the way, full spoilers. This is going to be very spoilers, and I want to say these things when we're watching things that are actually pretty concurrent that are coming out. Thanks, Dylan. Shout out to Spoiler Alert.
We caught up on this. I definitely caught up on this for sure because I had so many people that kept telling me like, "You got to watch Severance. You got to watch Severance." Finally, I did, and I started it on a Wednesday. A Wednesday night, I watched the first 2 episodes before we did the first recording.
Yep, where I fucked up.
And we recorded this. I went back home and watched like 5 or 6 more episodes. And then finished the whole thing.
You did after the podcast?
Yes, 100%.
Holy shit.
No, for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday night, I stayed up till like 2 or 3 in the morning. Because I just was
Cody was grinding.
cooking. And I'm telling you, it's been a long time since a show has done that for me. So I'm like, I'm pretty high on Severance right now.
It's good.
I have been telling, for everyone who's told me now I'm that guy, I've been telling everyone at work that I know, I'm like, have you seen Severance? I'm like, you got it.
It's funny that you say it at work too, just because of what Severance is like cooler talk. And
dude,
that's
I
kind
literally,
of funny.
I told a dude 2 days ago to watch it. Yesterday, he comes up again to me. He's like, I started watching. And I was like, it's pretty good, right? He was like, yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah.
Now you're cooler talking.
And I even brought up, I was like, bro, like, when I'm coming into work, it feels real sometimes. Or like,
just thinking about it, walking in, scanning your badge.
When you just do the same thing over and over and you've done that and you have that, you're like, there's just too many realities I've related to. But even past just the mundane work-life comparisons, it's like the show has so many big questions and big topics and things to think about that are so cool.
Constantly.
And it makes you think about like I think about life differently.
I was telling Dylan, it makes me like, anxious when I'm watching it often. Very often.
It is a very interesting feeling when you're watching and you know how uncomfortable it makes you because like the parallels to real life are so similar in so many ways that are scary. Like, in just all the stuff that's being brought up on this show, which we can like kind of dive into now, even what it is.
Go ahead, just bring up the first thing that comes to mind.
Is the other episode going to be posted?
Yeah, it'll be. I'm going to post it at the same time as this one.
Okay,
so just
it's like we kind of talk about it already, but like another synopsis ish. But like, I guess season 1 gets you. You get to know all the characters, all the main characters. You're learning what severance is as a concept. You go into work. When you go down the elevator to the severed floor, which is the specific floor where everyone is severed. It's like...
Except for the couple of people that aren't. The bosses, the management.
The show is very, very specific on what it's telling you. And I love it all the more for it because you have to be so aware of like, what is being said is being said for such a specific reason, and what is being shown for a very specific reason.
Yeah.
Like,
that's what it makes a good show. Everything is happening to do something.
There is not a single second of wasted time in the show either. I am glued to the screen from start to finish of every episode, and I have yet to think of a moment or a scene that I look back on and I'm like, that kind of sucked or wasn't needed or was boring. It's like everything, and I think it's to the show's benefit. There probably is scenes that are actually just exposition to be exposition, but they're so good at making you think there's so many things happening.
I feel like anytime John Turturro's talking to Christopher Walken about the art and the deeper meaning,
Bro,
like it's all that stuff. I'm like,
crazy.
Jesus Christ.
They hit levels of like human interaction, relationships, the fundamentals of like what it means to be a human, what it means to.
It's crazy.
It confuses me. I have so many more questions the more I think about it, but in a good way.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to dive into because there's so much.
Yeah.
Like, a cool aspect of the show is showing that these people, I mean, I don't know with Helly yet because I haven't seen her too much on the outside except for the season 2 spoiler that I saw. But they are, it seems like they are, I guess really at this point, it's really just Mark who's pretty much the same. He seems like his outside self was the same on the inside, but if he didn't have the issues and trauma that he had. Like, his personality seems, at least that's the way that I kind of interpret it. Like, he's the guy who's just trying to help. He is trying to just be a nice guy. But on the outside, he's got this trauma and these really bad things that have happened to him. So he's an alcoholic. That has a lot of issues. But he means well. In the office, he doesn't have all those issues. He doesn't know about them. And he's just trying to help people. And he means well. And he's trying to help people.
He's just
at
being
least
a good
seems,
guy.
Yeah, it seems like to me.
Yeah,
and I imagine that's how it is for the other characters. I guess for me, I haven't seen too much of them on the outside.
Any Mark just wants to get the job done. He knows he's good at it, and he just wants the best for his crew. He also really likes his crew, and they all know that like they get shit done. But there's an element of like, and we're also buddies who are trying to figure some shit out right now because now we're all kind of starting to think.
When John Turturro makes his turn where he's like, let's take this fucker down, I'm like, oh, because the whole time he's like the guy where he's like, wait, like he's, because the very cult, oh my God, even diving into the culty vibes and like how, what's Egan's first name? What A starts with an A? What's his, like the god's name?
Kier?
Kier. Oh, sorry,
Hail
starts
Kier.
with the K.
Yeah,
Kier. How he's like Jesus or God or whatever, and like they like praise him, and how fucking what's in Selvig has the shrine, and then she destroys it. God, dude, there's just so much to talk about in this show. And Dylan asked me when I'm watching like episode 2 or 3, he's like, has it got super culty yet? I was like, I mean, yeah, it's culty, but I didn't know exactly what he meant until I really saw Selvig's house with her like little prayer shrine and stuff. I was like, oh, it's like very, very, God, dude, and she freaks me out. She should be in a horror movie. Her character in the show should be in a horror movie. With her fucking braids and like in her little pajamas, watching people out the window and then going up to her candlelit shrine.
She's a great and another thing about all the characters are great. There's not a single person who shows up on screen that isn't really good.
In so many different ways.
Interesting.
Way different. They're all so different.
They all have their own personality. They all have their own quirks, but they all have really interesting stories to tell. Yeah. And the way it's being told is so good. It's so fucking good. It's just so unique in the perspective. Like, I've never really seen a show that's hitting the quality level that's this high with ideas and concepts and storytelling that's also fucking blowing my mind. Like, constantly. Every episode.
It makes you think so much when you're like, because whenever they do the transitions in the elevator of them coming down, and you're like, so when Helly hangs herself.
Yeah, great.
And so she hangs herself, and then they just slowly push Mark into the elevator, and he just does that transition. And it's really cool because I was talking to Dylan. Dylan, what were you saying they did with the camera angle to make his face look different?
Oh, the depth of field. Zoom at the same
I saw
time.
the same thing with Ben Stiller talking about it, where it's one way is like you're zooming in while pulling out, the other way is zooming out while pulling in.
Yeah. And it makes them look like a different person, but they're still the same person. It is such a great way to transition and show that they're changing to their
just
Audi.
the perspective shift with the camera, that it's so perfect and like kind of simple to just get the gist of what's happening.
So he leaves out there and he goes about his normal Audi life, and then, you know, just the whole fucking trip of Severance in general. He's instantly back in the elevator, just and like comes back and like they're just sitting there in the chairs and like, is she alive? Yeah. Like, what the fuck happened? Because there's been a whole day that happened since everything. And I'm like, that's just constantly happening in the show and just beating you over the head with it. I'm like, oh my God, dude, it stresses me out. Huh?
It was I meant
focal length.
Focal length.
That's the name of the term to.
Yeah.
It was really
okay. So
really cool.
I'm curious. You left off on
The last thing that
second to last episode of season 1, and what's the last thing that happened?
The last thing that happened in there was Dylan was with me because it all kinds of blends together.
Was it the Dylan character? Is he about to do
Yes.
that? Is that literally where it ends?
So, and that's the thing. Don't show me that. Get that out of my face.
God damn it.
So that's the thing that I know. I obviously know what happens and how it goes about because
Like
I've seen season 2, episode 2.
And you already saw the ending of that episode, which you're like, okay, we know what's the next episode's gonna be.
Yeah.
You know what's gonna
Yeah.
happen.
So it's Dylan trying to flip on the switches to get them alive in their Audi
To
cells.
turn on the Audis.
Or get their innies alive on their Audis?
Innies will go into their Audis.
Yeah. And so I know what he tells her and everything because I've seen his sister. What's his sister's name?
Devin.
Yeah, Devin. And then what the fuck's the husband?
Rickens.
Rickens.
Or Rick,
Yeah, 'cause
Rickens.
they have,
Just
they have
Rickens.
such weird names.
Rickens
yeah.
awesome.
I was telling Dylan that I was telling Dylan that he could be Ricken in like another universe.
Another thing I love.
I hate the way he talks.
This has
so
got to
much.
be season 1, and that's where I'm like, you'll have to kind of lead still on some of the details. But it should have already been established. Like, Ricken's book gets taken from Mark's doorstep, and then
he's so offended,
dude. But the innies are it's like their Bible.
It is.
They fucking worship him.
It's their connection to the outside.
They literally worship Ricken.
Yeah.
They're like, oh my god, he's so profound.
Kind of like the way that John Turturro worships Egan and everybody.
Just kind of
on the
brainwashed into this, like, well,
Yeah.
we're here, we chose to be here. There must be a reason, kind of a thing. Like, you'd convince yourself to some extent. Like,
It's a point of ignorance where you want something to show you and take you down this path, which is a very like human kind of thing.
Yeah,
like they don't know anything. They don't know what it's like on the outside. So this one book and this one thing that they have is kind of what they're tying everything to, and it's pretty much what kicks off all of them deciding like, hey, we're gonna go in, except for Helly, who's there the whole fucking time. By the way, Helly's story and her whole character arc and plotline is so fucking dark.
Insane.
The whole time in me
more fucked.
The whole time in me knowing who she is, and I guess I technically don't want to say because does that get revealed in the last episode?
That's where I want to go into is like saying kind of the gist of what the final episode is if you want.
Does she get revealed in that? Because I already know.
The finale is straight from the start. You go right into where you left off, and it is clicking everyone, and you see all 3 characters,
spill their beans.
Helly, and Mark, all in their respective spots. Mark's at the house party.
Yep. Helly's at some other party.
Helly's at she's
drinking champagne. She's at
some other party. Do they show where Irv is?
He's painting.
Okay, he's painting.
Yeah.
And you know that...
I know what the painting is. Oh my god, the Gemma reveal. Or Gemma or whatever her fucking name is. I can never remember.
So, okay, also...
Jesus Christ. God, there's so much of this show.
Yeah, that's it. We're glossing over, so we're just like hopping around because there's so much shit.
It's hard because there's so much. So sorry, everybody.
Another big thing, the last episode leading into the finale... Yes, God, I'm not going to even try to pinpoint where they happened. But
That's
seeing
okay.
Mark is having a argument with this girl he's been like kind of attempting to date, ends up taking a picture of his dead wife.
Oh my god!
In a moment of drunkenness,
He's all
of
hammered.
trying to just prove like, oh, I don't care about her, thinking that she's gonna care. This girl is so clocked out, doesn't give a fuck, and he rips up the old picture of him and his.
And it's like when he shows it to her, it's like, oh, you can't really tell who
it's
it
tiny.
is.
He's just like, yeah, see, here you go.
Once they did that, I knew it was like, oh, it's gonna be somebody we know.
And
I didn't know who it was gonna be.
They did a really good job of him. He regrets it after she walks away and leaves, and then he goes back in and he starts taping the picture, and it ends off on him lifting his thumb up from her face. And it's fucking Miss Casey.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh.
The reveals of the show are crazy.
That's the kind of shit where I was like, oh my god, who is it? Who is it? Who is it? Huh? And immediately you're just like, so many questions.
So many questions.
So many. Okay.
And then the more you learn about it, the more questions you have. She goes down the hall, the painting.
There's so much of just knowing Miss Casey is his wife. You're like, she's fucking alive. She's alive? Like, in my mind, I'm just like, okay.
So how did Lumen fake the death? How is she in here? What sort of basement testing lab is she being caught in? How is she going down this hallway that John Turturro is drawing paintings of that he knows of? Every reveal that they do in the show makes you have. It seems like a 10x more questions about like what the fuck.
That's
is going
why it's
on.
so fucking good because you're
and seeing where the end game
still
goes,
scraping with the fact that you haven't seen other than episode 2 of season 2.
Hey everybody, we're back. We're still talking about Severance. I need to do this and talk loudly so I can find a place to edit and cut out that other stuff.
Yeah, you'll see the gap. Wherever we were, I don't know where.
We were just diving really deep into Severance.
Okay, I was talking about Miss Casey reveal and shit, and that's fucking crazy. But in the end, the things that happen leading up into Dylan G is activating the switches at the end of the second to last episode, and in the finale we're going to kick into Mark, Helly, and Irv all
spilling their beans.
Going from any versions, their any versions will go into their outie selves at whatever time they are in.
Yeah.
And the episode is fucking so good. The finale is so good.
I'll watch it after this.
Because it's insane how much how much they cover in ground while juggling 3 plot lines in this insane brain fuck of a moment where you're just like,
are they editing it together the whole time? We don't need to dive into details.
It's like
you
get like 5 to 10 minute snippets, and then you're jumping to the next character and like next character. It's just like there's a lot because you hop immediately into. So Mark is at the house party with his fucking sister and Mrs. Selvig there, who is Cobell. So I know.
And after she had her breakdown of breaking everything too,
so
she's just got fired.
She got fired and is kind of like, fuck, what's going on?
And she worships this whole thing, so she's like, it really fucks
Very
her up.
interesting dynamic there. It's just like
so. Do you think
crazy?
Do you think all the people that work on the severed floor but aren't severed? So, by the way, the killing of what is his name? Grant. What's the security guy's name?
Oh, Grainer.
The killing of Grainer was so like, oh, he's dead. I thought she just knocked him out with a bat, but then she beats him a couple times. Yeah. And by the way, that character, I don't remember her name.
Ragabi?
Yeah, the scientist who went, the guy,
the chick who
the girl that untethers
she can do reintegration.
Yeah, reintegration. And God, there's so much. But Grainer dying, and then him getting the code. But anyways,
sick as fuck how he leaves it in his pocket, and the concept of like, you'll know it when you get it.
Yeah, you're innie kind of, and it's just the timing. The innie is already kind of trying to do that stuff.
The innie and the Mark's innie and Audi are simultaneously starting to like do the same thing.
It's so weird,
but you gotta kind of think like, oh man, I have so much I want to say and I can't.
So do you think
there's so much that happens?
So do you think the people that work on the severed floor, like Selvig and Milchek or whatever, and Grainer, are they all like worshipper, devout believers, and that's how they get to be people who are on the severed floor that aren't severed, without saying stuff that you might know or not? Like, is that? Do you think? What's going on with them? I mean, I'm like, why aren't they severed?
I technically wouldn't. I don't even have an answer. Yeah, I don't think.
Yeah. I wouldn't expect you to. Like I said, there's so many questions about
as far as I would even know, like, Milchek is still one of, to me, the most interesting characters that I know.
Dude, when Dylan tackles him and bites him.
Dude, you don't know anything about the motherfucker. Like,
and he's smiling and just dancing when he's all up in everybody and doing this. I'm like, oh my god, I hate
dance experience is a sick moment. Sick. I love it.
It is a good one.
Because
it's coming
and
the entire
time. And Dylan gets to hit Milchek with a dope ass. Milchek gets up and he's like, oh, I'm writing your ass up, baby. And he's like, let's go together, bitch. And he's like,
damn, Dylan's kind of a badass.
I was like, yeah, let's go.
Dylan's kind of a badass, and I love his. Who's your favorite character?
I can't pick. Straight up cannot pick.
They're
all good.
Mine might be Devin. Low key.
Whoa, the sister?
Yeah. I don't know why, but it's something about her being the one the whole time who's... I know there's a whole bunch of people in the universe of Severance that are like questioning it, but her very directly asking very direct questions and having watched that season 2 episode 2 thing and like how she breaks down into that I think that helps a lot more with the context of everything. And just how she tries to dig deeper. She talks to that lady who's pregnant with her that goes in the house and has a coffee who tells her the fake name and like is really short to her when she comes out. And she's like, what the fuck is... And she just goes, what? She literally says, what the fuckity fuck or something.
Well, what do you think about that part where there's like so there's a retreat area where this lady, she meets her there and
doesn't ask the coffee.
Now they have a nice time and then she sees her outside of there and she doesn't know who she is.
Does she actually not know who she is? I would think yes. But I don't know. So there's some weird severed pregnancy shit going on. Like it's a lot of questions and diving into things. But it's just building Devin's character where I'm like, she seems like she might be the one who like kind of brings everybody into this area, like into this like questioning thing, like really makes everybody come in and question these things because. I don't know. I just like her character. I like the authority of her character. I like how she's with this bimbo dumbass, but she loves him because he's just a fucking weirdo. But she's very self-aware of how fucking weird he is. And
I think. All this stuff. Well, the last episode tells so much. So
about that.
Just a lot of things with how it ends. Like it gets.
That makes sense because he's telling her
the
all
ending,
that. Yeah.
like cliffhanger from season 1. I guess if you want to know. Well, you
That's
kind of
fine.
do know.
I probably already
you
know.
would have already known this because of what you've seen.
Yeah.
It ends with Mark, after the whole episode, he's been like, there's multiple moments where he could potentially see a picture of him and his wife. And that would be the moment that it would connect with him. He's in his outie self. He's in his outie self, and he would see in the real world, holy fuck, Miss Casey's my wife. And the whole episode's teasing like multiple moments. It's so close. He's so close, and it doesn't. Finally, the ending is Mark picks up a picture, and he's like, oh my God. And he runs out, and it's him running out in the middle of the party, screaming, and he goes to his sister. He's like, Devin, she's still alive! She's still alive! And at that moment, Milchek is tackling Dylan in the office to undo the switches. So you see Mark telling Devin she's alive, who they've had a relationship. Devin is like the sister-in-law. Like, they all like know each other and did know each other.
Wait, Devin's a sister-in-law?
Sister would be her sister-in-law.
Oh,
like
Gemma's
would be
sister.
Gemma's sister-in-law. And so like they were all buddy. Like the two couples, it's both brother and sister with their spouses, they all got along. So he would know holding the like there was just a lot that happens and it all kind of happens really fast and it's just like the ending cliffhanger is Mark telling her who he's now been able to talk to Devin in the real world and be like they make a plan like beforehand. Everyone's like, what's the plan? Find the first person you know and tell them everything.
That you can trust.
Trust the most and tell them everything. It's the only way this can work. And so he finds Devin was his person, and he's like having this moment where he's already had a couple like interactions, and she can tell like, what the fuck's going on? Why are you acting weird? Like you don't know me, like you don't know where you are. And he has to take her to a room, and he's like, are you my sister? She's like, what is happening? He's like, I gotta tell you everything right now.
Oh, let's go! I'm so excited. I'm gonna watch that after, but. Yeah,
so like he debriefs her and then now runs in the room after he sees the picture to be like, she's alive, and it's just gonna that happens. Helly's story. Helly, if you want to jump into it and get the gist, you'll know what you knew in this episode from season 2 already.
It's probably her at a party getting revealed that she's like the daughter. It's literally
she goes in. She's in this nice like dress. She's at a really fancy party. There's like a lot of people are coming up to her like, your big speech is coming on tonight. I hope you're pumped. And you're starting to see people you've seen in the office a couple times. And you're like, what the fuck? Okay. She starts walking around and then there's all these screens showing Severance.
That's why she has to make an apology
It's like
video.
Helly R, a Severance story. And it's her looking at pictures of her innie. We're in their workspace. Everyone having a good time, like doing their work. And she's seeing in the real world all the stuff they've been doing at work. And
as her innie right now?
She's her innie, so she's looking at herself technically. Yeah. And she's watching, she's like, what the fuck is going on? I don't know who I am, but I'm obviously important. People are coming up to me, talking to me a lot. And then she goes to the bathroom and is like having a bit of a like mental breakdown moment because she's fucking anxiety's out the roof.
Poor innie.
And then her dad comes in.
Okay.
And her dad is...
So I haven't seen her dad.
Her dad is like... You already know it, but he is an Egan. He's the next Egan that is alive right now, and that's her dad. And you're like, holy fuck! So she's the daughter of the CEO of the god. Like they're probably their great grandfather, great grandfather could have been Kier, but they're still in that. I mean, even I don't know. It's like, are they Egans? I don't fucking know anymore. That's the kind of shit we're at with this show. It's like they still hit you with that, and it's like, holy fuck! So she's a mole. She's a fucking spy or something. Like, what's going on?
She's a mole, but she's not.
So she's not because you don't know who you are on the inside.
Yeah.
And you get to see one of my favorite dynamics that it definitely explored more in season 2 is Helly versus Helena, which is her real name.
Okay.
And it's just so fascinating of a concept to know that this girl knows what she's doing on the outside. Dude. But she doesn't really know on the inside. I can't say enough because I know too much and I don't want to say too much.
This is another aspect about like Severance that would be so freaky. Because at first when you're watching the show and everything before you like really get into the Helly stuff at the end of the first season, is like, oh my God, so you never leave work, or you never leave not being at work, and like, oh my God, that's a mind fuck. That's super crazy.
Audi life, sick as fuck. Never have to work.
Not necessarily though. Most of them no.
In concept, a lot of them
yes.
think that's probably what they're gonna get.
Yeah.
I don't have to work ever, and I just get paid to live life.
Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah, but then you dive a little bit deeper into it, and you're like, okay, because once they get into the concept of like, oh, if you quit or you get fired, you die. And it's like, it's kind of like, fuck, you do kind of die. Like, if your work self, the only life that you know when you're on the inside, you die. And that is something I've thought, like, once they, like, brought that up, I think about that every episode constantly. And then once they get to the Helly talking about chopping off her fingers, and then once they get to the Helly hanging herself, then you have to be the Audi who is anxious that every day when your innie goes to work, that you might not come back because your innie is trying to kill themselves. Which is fucking... This is the Severance stuff that makes it so insane and so great. Is like, damn, that is a deep, thought-provoking thing that I never would have, like, put into concept. Like, one of the recent clips I put up is just talking about what I think makes things great. And it was us talking about Schindler's List and, like, actually having a real connection, real stories. Having something as unique and as profound as a thought of this, where you're just like... That is such an insane anxiety to have, where you have a second half of yourself that could kill themselves at any moment, and you have no idea when they go to work every day, and you could just be dead, or you could just not have a hand because they...
I don't understand how they came up with
Jesus
the
Christ.
for most of it. Like, I can understand how someone gets this idea, but pulling it off at this level seems impossible.
It's crazy.
It really feels impossible.
So complicated.
I think that's why it's so fucking good. It's like, I'm being led in the perfect way where, again, I know there's people watching this show who are probably like people online will dive so deep and figure out the plot lines of the whole show before it even comes out, and I'm like, I'm just along for the ride. This show is doing the best job of letting me feel like this is the single coolest thing I've ever watched, and it's awesome. Like, I am, for every reveal or twist, I'm like, oh, no fucking way.
It's like, so unique, and I really do feel like I did myself a disservice with that stuff, because I like had a lingering idea of what stuff was going on. But like Dylan said, and like you have said, we had so much to talk about. There's still so much that happened. Like, I can't quit on the show just because I fucked myself.
I think some of my favorite and most interesting concepts and things are past what you did, like, watched.
Good.
There are some of the best
episodes,
best moments, most interesting things to think about that are still coming up that play so hard into just like they're doing good with season 1 of keeping it big, like life. Think about life in this way. It's kind of weird, but I think season 2 is kind of starting to bring it in, and I like it where they're really keying in on like, these people are starting to know each other, aren't they? Like, we need to not be so big, and I think we need to take it more into the characters, even on a way like a close in detail level, and it's getting messy in a good way.
Like I said when we were talking about it last week, but it's just so, like, I didn't think that we would be seeing Mark's life as an innie and an outie in the first episode. I thought this was going to be drawn out. Like, the whole first episode was going to be him living his office life, and then that end cliffhanger episode would be, like, him going home, and he's, like, an alcoholic, and he's, like, just blacked out on the couch or whatever.
That's what normal shows do.
Yeah, but this show, and it's kind of a crazy idea and concept to do, just because it really just dives in there, jumps in there, throws the whole fucking wall, just throws everything at you all at once. But then still just makes you have, like you were saying before, so many more questions and so many more different, really deep thinking things. So much stuff going on, and like I just cannot believe how much has happened in season. Like, I didn't think we were going to actually be seeing both of their lives, everybody in the inside realizing stuff, writing a map, breaking things down, and getting to the point where they're trying to basically break out by the end of season 1 of the show called Severance, where the whole concept is people in and people out, and the whole first season is that. I'm like, damn, that's gonna be a whole fucking show.
Well, it's interesting too, because you got to think,
where's it go?
Yeah, you
so excited.
You got to think they have a way that they figured out you can get out, and also they have a fucking switch.
It's literally a switch.
They literally have a switch for everyone whenever they want to just, like, the first time Milchek shows up in Dylan's house, like when Dylan comes in, and
I wanted to talk about that.
That is fucked up. That is so beyond.
Is this my kid?
That's so manipulative and so messed up on insane levels of, like, this dude had no clue about his life, and he was pretty happy-go-lucky before.
He was, yeah.
He was just kind of like, he was the funny guy. He's like, I bet I'm banging
Also-
milfs. Like, I bet I have a riverboat.
He's pretty fucking funny. Too.
Yeah, he's
like
hilarious.
this show is funny.
It's very dark comedy at times,
Yeah.
but I love it. And to have him come out and see that he is in a house with Milchek, and then there's a
He's in a walk-in
kid.
closet, and the kid comes in.
And then
So
there's a kid there, and he's like, "What?" And Milchek just being like, "Sorry, bud, this is bad timing, but
where is it?
yeah, like I
Also,
can't
what the
remember-
fuck do you think those things? Well, unless you know because
Oh,
it's season 2. What the fuck do you think those fighting card things were?
I know.
Also, okay. So also is you might know this too, but is
I'll just say it's less about what it is and more about like
those paintings when they just get printed off and how they have them flipped just to fuck with each other's departments. I'm like, God, dude, I just can't believe how deep this show just
they're
keeps
just
going. Like,
well, and you
is
gotta-
Christopher Walken gone? Also, John Turturro and Christopher Walken, they're these two old fucks, these old gay fucks are fucking. I'm like, damn, what's going on here? There's so much going on. The
very
hand touches.
very interesting. I like. It's just funny the way it's
Their
done.
smiles.
Yeah, the way it's done is so like Christopher Walken is just so like. I think my least favorite part of Dune 2 was Christopher Walken because he was just being him. It felt
Yeah.
like, but this character is
Yeah.
like, this is good. This is I can tell this dude is like, I feel like he totally gets it,
Dude,
Like
and
he gets it.
His retirement video where he is just. I don't even know how to put into words, but you can just tell that he's an arrogant fuck asshole on the outside. But on the inside, he seems, or at least he seems right now. I guess I don't have all the info, but he seems like a very caring, nice guy who like really cares about his art and the work that he's doing, and with John Turturro and all that. And then his Audi is just like, oh, I care a lot about you guys, but I don't know your names. I don't know how many of there
Well,
you
if
are.
you
I
wanna
don't know what
know-
you look like.
so- Final episode. Considering I've already said a lot, but you'll still watch
You're
it
good.
anyway.
You're good.
Irv's plotline when he gets turned on.
Oh, that's right. We haven't
So
seen that yet.
he is really interesting too because he's in his house and he was probably painting or something.
Yeah, he was
And
painting.
Again, do you see what he was painting?
The hallway.
Okay,
The
so
hallway.
you know
that's
it's the
all. What
hallway.
all of his paintings
Yeah,
are.
and which again in his Audi self has been painting things from his innie self. So
The goop.
there's
the
weird
goop
the
thing.
goop,
The
like
goop
things
paint
are
and
his,
that happening.
his like something's going wrong in my and I don't really have the answers yet.
So he has
but,
a malfunction.
But like
chip
it just
maybe or
seems
something.
it just seems like it's like okay, so his memories are starting to bleed into each other. Just a little. Enough for him to be seeing things at work and repainting memories from his head in outside world. But the first thing he does is he pulls out a map and he has circled spots all over the map and you also have to think everyone lives in the town. Everyone's
Yeah,
near
they
each
all
other
live in those
because
fucking
everyone has to
duplexes.
live by work and has to be in like basically a commune of this town.
Yeah.
So everyone's pretty close within a drive away. And he has all these people circled with names. And you see Bert. Of course, who the fuck does he go find? He goes to Bert immediately.
Oh, okay.
And he walks or he drives up to this guy's house and he sees him inside with another guy. And he's like, oh, like I probably shouldn't have done that. Like, cat's already out of the bag though. Like you went too far, you saw what you wanted to see, you were gonna try to maybe he just knows that there's like this like if he could tell someone it would be him, I guess, but also the love angle where it's just like it's messy, but he knew that that's his guy, but he walks up and his thing was you don't get you don't get as much time with him because Helly and Mark have a lot to do in this episode. But Irv ends his time and he's like banging on Bert's door.
Oh, so he does.
He's just like, oh, like I need to like open up. I need to tell you something or
He
blah blah
doesn't.
blah.
It's
But
not
like,
enough.
and that's where it like flicks on for him. But it's enough to warn Audi Bert of something just happened. No matter what, Irv's gonna wake up and he's gonna be like, "The fuck am I doing here?"
Yeah.
And he's gonna be like, "Okay, I don't know, but."
God, that would fuck me
It's
up.
weird. Both parties are going to know that happened.
I thought there would be. So maybe you know this. It's probably not, but I thought it would be a really interesting aspect to like bring up some social commentary of. Irv is gay and likes Christopher Walken, Bert or whatever in as his innie. But if as an outie he had a wife and a family and stuff on the inside, and I thought that would just be maybe a really interesting dynamic of like you're the same person but like you could be like gay or like I thought that'd be a good way to like kind of explore that, and I thought that's what it was going to be. Sounds like it's not, but
I don't think so. We did see a little bit. Dylan, you might remember too, is
they show Irv's like he unfolds like an American flag, and there's like a war vet thing. Is that his dad or him?
Dylan?
Was that at the end of which episode?
Where I think it's the finale of season 1 when Irv gets turned on outside.
You gotta watch that. Me and Reed gotta watch that.
Yeah, actually, you probably Either way, you'll probably get it.
We'll
but
find out.
There's a little bit of he looks at something, and I want to say he looks at a picture of an old guy who looks like his dad, probably with war vet stuff.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's him and he has PTSD, which could be a reason as to why he wanted to get severed in the first place, was to get away from PTSD in the war. Totally would make sense. Just like Mark wants to escape his drunken, shitty life without his wife, who's dead.
So we don't know.
Who isn't fucking dead.
So we don't know about Dylan's, huh? Well, you might, but I don't. I can't
say
know
much, but it gets explored in season 2.
All we know about Dylan's is that he was in a closet, so he's got a bedroom with a walk-in closet. And
I'll just say this. It's fucked up how they explore Dylan.
Well, it must be because it's all fucked up. That's the best part about this show.
I want to talk about season 2 so bad because they do such a good job.
We'll do it next week.
They jump into just more. It just ups the ante where you're like, they kind of pull the rug out from underneath everyone. Where it's like you also have to think, okay, Milchek's about to end this whole thing. What's gonna happen to all of them? Are they all fucking fired? Are they gone? He comes up and tells them they're all. Well, I guess I don't want to say that too much just because we said season 1 spoilers. It develops through season 2 a little bit.
Yeah, and I'm sure it does.
The idea is where they just like
season 2 or starts or end or season 2 episode 2 starts or ends with them saying they're all fired or whatever. But
you didn't see episode 1.
Yeah,
which is vastly different from the
stuff
that happened.
Yeah, well,
there's a lot.
Dumbass bitch. But
either way, to anyone else who is caught up or like fully caught up, the stuff we're learning in the latest episodes too, like the last Friday episode 7 of season 2. Oh man, so much has happened. Learned a lot more, and yet 10,000 more questions, kind of a thing. And this shows me just fucking hooked. More than anything else, for sure. And I don't know when it'll end. I guess that's my only thing is how long does this go for? And do they have a planned set ending? I hope so, because it seems like with something like this, you can't just be going off the seat of your pants. Like,
that's what
way.
That's what I was going to go into next, and we can kind of finish off with this. Is like this show, and I've only seen season 1. You've basically watched the first 2 seasons, but like it's one of these really, really great starts to a show, and it's so thought provoking, and it is so interesting, and it opens so many more questions. But at what point do you stop opening the doors to so many more questions? Because this is something that theoretically, you start here and it will just go off infinitely. You keep going on a pyramid in a tree, and you have infinite questions if you keep doing it. At some point, you got to kind of bring it around like a diamond.
I think they are.
Yeah, and I
honestly.
hope they have an actual plan, because that's something I always bitch about with the new Star Wars trilogy that came out, the sequel trilogy, is that they released those just as a cash grab to make money. There was no start. There was like a start plan, kind of an idea, but they never knew where it was going to go and where it ended. Even the prequels did have that. George Lucas had that. It didn't matter. They just made them to make them, and they went along as they went. If you have a start point and an end point, and you figure out how to fill it in the gap from there, like, this could be something that is really amazing, and I hope they don't just try to bring it on forever and it ends up being 9 seasons and it just expands until people lose interest.
I see this being 3 or 4 seasons max.
Fuck yes.
I think
go.
And I think
that's what we need.
That's like what it feels like for the best of its case. Like, there's such a tight story here with absolutely no filler at all. It's just all content that is so strong. That, like I said, I think, like you're saying, it starts big. I think it's really smart for season 1 to just be like, open the doorway to this massive world of like, fuck, what the hell?
Yeah.
Season 2 is definitely starting to like, remember all our main characters. Yeah. Let's bring it back. Let's really hammer home these people and really focus in on them. And I think that's good because it gets to, again, more of the big issues of like, as much as people want to be like,
what the fuck is Lumen?
Like, fight the power. Fuck,
what is Lumen doing?
Fuck the company. If you were stuck in there as a worker and you had think about it. A girl like Helly sitting there, you'd probably start falling. And that is enough to open a door when you think from Mark's perspective, this dude had a wife, thinks she's dead, starts kind of flirting with Helly. Uh-oh, she's alive. Wait, what the fuck?
But also, you come out as your Audi, and then Helly is this evil, probably corporate lady.
Probably knows who she is.
Yeah, and probably knows everything about. Oh yeah, it's gonna be so interesting.
There is so many angles to this that get fucking crazy, and there are still things that you haven't seen that like twists and stuff that are gonna be like one in particular that I'm still like.
It's like
fuck.
This show is cool because it's like telling a story times 2 or 3 because you're telling the story of a character on the inside and the outside. But then you're also telling a story of them molding and crossing over. So you're telling one story, but multiplied by 3. It seems like if you think about it like that, it's such a cool concept.
And they juggle all of it so well. This show could so quickly fall into just a mess, like just a nonsense. terrible mess, and be just convoluted, confusing. Nobody knows what's going on, and yet it doesn't. It just works. I don't even know how. I don't think I'm the fucking smartest guy when I watch TV either. Like, my mom can figure shit out so fast on a movie or a TV show, and I'm like I said, I'm kind of just along for the ride. I don't even want to figure it out. I like being surprised by the thing that was supposed to happen. Fun. And this show, I mean, you can't help but try to think of what's going to happen next in this show, and I'll never be able to get there.
Yeah.
I just can't think that far. Like, I'm not smart enough, and I love it. This makes me feel smart watching it.
Yeah, there's such a cool dynamic with this show. Like, just diving into all that stuff, it's awesome. And like, we'll wrap up here a little bit, but like, let us know what you think about the show. Let us like if you want to leave a comment explaining like what you think about the show and where things will go and like what the hell is going on with this, because it is fucking insane, and I think it's one of the greater shows that we've seen in a while. And this has been one of my favorite things about doing the podcast is I feel like we're really getting to see dope stuff, where we saw the HBO show with the Dune stuff, or just talking about Dune, watching this show, watching The Penguin. It's really been a lot of shows randomly, just by chance.
Yeah, there hasn't been a ton of movies, I guess.
But it's just been dope to like get us into them and make us watch them and then make us talk about them like this.
This one I'm more like I
this one's level.
I'll say like love The Penguin. This is more my show though. Like,
yeah,
this is more.
And you love
Like, I give Penguins like a perfect season of television for me, but this feels like a perfecter season of television. Like, it's more in my wheelhouse of my preferences.
It's a more perfect Cody show.
Yeah, it's just everything. Yeah. It makes me think. It makes me question life. Like,
makes me anxious. It makes me laugh. It makes me scared.
It makes me feel all ranges of emotion.
Yeah.
Anything from happy to sad to laughter to like crying.
Yeah,
to
it's crazy.
You just hit all the ranges. Every character is interesting. You never want to stop watching. That's how I felt. And there's only Breaking Bad was the first show to ever hit me with the feeling of gotta see the next thing. And then this show is really, truly one of the only other ones that's gotten me to I have to watch the next episode. Like, no, not even, I didn't even question it. I watched basically
basically the whole first season today.
Yeah, it is so.
The only reason I didn't is because of how I fucked myself. The only reason that I didn't keep watching and binged it was because of that, and how annoyed I was.
So now to anyone, all of our friends who know us, and like Matt and Mayo, I think are the only two people who would have been watching Severance,
right? I think so. But we need to get literally everybody watching.
Hey, if you already hear me in this, I'm already telling everyone. I will be. You guys got me to do it, and I will be the next advocate because I 100% want everyone to watch this show. I think it's so interesting. I don't see how you couldn't enjoy it from a lot of angles. I think it's funny at a lot of times. It's just interesting. All the actors are phenomenal, especially the later you get when you realize how well acted this is. Everyone's having to play like 2 characters at all times.
3 almost when you're like mixing them in between each other.
Yeah, when there's weird like in between spaces. Yeah. So every person's having to do like so
Adam
many.
Scott, by the way, who is traditionally known as a comedic actor.
Love him. He's so good.
So I love when comedic actors, like, it's a very, I watched Good Will Hunting recently, and we talked about that a little bit, but, like, when a comedic actor transitions into a drama role, and it feels like they are better than any other drama, like an actor who prioritizes that, Adam Scott, Steve Carell in some of the dramatic roles that he's done, and oh my god, Robin Williams, his fucking dramatic roles. Like, I feel like those comedic actors have chops that like you just don't realize or see until they actually do it, because they don't. They're usually doing comedic stuff, and then they do these serious things. You're like, oh shit, you are actually fucking awesome.
I love Adam Scott only since watching Parks and Rec the first time. I love his character in Parks and Rec.
Do you know him in any, like, what else is?
Step Brothers.
Yeah, but that's still a comedic one. Dylan, could you look up Adam Scott discography?
He's like comedy shows, different things
going has there been another drama kind of thing that you might know of?
Drama? No, I don't know, like on this level. He's never been like the leading guy like this, which I think is awesome that this show is so big because it's just showing how
none of these people really are leading people.
Yeah.
John Turturro's always a side actor.
John Turturro,
the other actors
in everything.
Christopher Walken definitely has, but he's
more
old.
of the clout to just be like, yeah, we got Christopher Walken in our show.
Yeah,
like straight up, that's what everyone's doing now.
Yeah.
It's just like he wanted to be in our thing. It's cool, but he also has a great character and gets a lot of cool dialogue and has the O&D dynamic between the different departments.
This is the most people I've ever seen before.
Yeah, like
that's great. There's like 7 people there.
Yeah, that's like the way they can do humor in a way like you've never thought, because that's like, I love it. It's not slapstick because it doesn't need to be slapstick, but it's so witty because it's coming from this idea that you've never thought about. So you can make jokes with Dylan being like, yeah, my dude's probably banging MILFs on the outside.
Yeah,
it's
I
just
know.
It's way funnier than a normal person saying.
Yeah, or like what
so
he thinks the theories about the company are. Yeah, like
yeah, he's like, I think my theory, we're cleaning the oceans.
Yeah,
like they're sending probes out. They're sending back the data they get from the oceans, and then we're finding the bad things that all the drones go and send in bombs out.
Yeah, it looks like. I mean, I don't know if this is shown on the feed too, but yeah, that's not. He's not a main character in anything. Like that's the beauty of all of the characters that are in the show. None of them are like the lead actors in something.
I love watching because his innie is like his Parks and Rec guy, where he's just all right, team, let's have a good day. We're just here to like make everything go well and like let's be productive. All right, and just being so overtly like kind and just like warming to people and like just a nice dude.
Just trying to make the office function.
It might be a pushover, but he's a nice guy.
Yeah,
like, and he gets to do the innie version with that, but then very quickly gets to like break out of it and start to like push against the mold a little.
But when he's his outie, you can see that in him too. Mm-hmm. But he's an alcoholic. And you see...
It's depressing.
Yeah, you see the moments where like he gets hammered while he's out on the first date with that girl.
I can't stand watching those moments. I get so uncomfortable.
Or when he rips up the picture. But then you see him the night where they go out and they go to the concert with Petey's daughter. And he doesn't really drink. He doesn't get drunk. And he's like... He seems like this really cool, friendly guy that you would want to be around. Like, I like your quippiness. I like your jokes. The jokes he makes with Devin, the relationship with her. I'm like, oh, you were... like this really awesome, cool, fun guy, and you're just broken because of what's happening.
I can't wait for you to get further into season 2. There's just because I think it's such a good sign of the show doing the work it needs to. All the things you're talking about and have brought up for questions, they might not get fully answered, but we're diving into all the concepts you're talking about. You get way more into more. Like this show is never going down the path of like, why are we doing this? Why I don't care about this.
Fillers.
Every time they're going in a new direction, or they pit like just a different thing is happening, I'm like, yes, that's even more interesting than what we were doing. Okay, hell yeah, like always something new, always something interesting. And honestly, if I had to pick a favorite character, Mr. Milchek is up there, dude.
Really? I like that too.
Bro, Mr. Milchek is the most interesting person in the show to me right now.
Well, he's not severed, but he's a part of it all. So that's why it's interesting.
We don't know Jack. We just don't know enough.
We know more about Selvig.
He's probably the one character, and you're going to learn a lot more about more people in season 2. He's still the one character I know almost nothing about. And it's
I wonder if he's like perma-severed.
I don't know, man, but... I can't even say stuff. There's so much that happens. The last episode revealed a lot of stuff that's like, it kind of just takes things where you're like, oh, fuck, we were here, now we're here, I think.
Yeah, we were already here.
Yeah, I know. It's getting crazier and crazier. So
I'm so excited. We're definitely going to be talking about the rest of the show next week. We'll watch, I will finish up season 2.
There will be a new episodes out on Friday, so...
Okay, cool. So we'll be able to watch.
Season 2, episode 8 will have been the last episode.
So we'll be able to talk about basically all of season 2, and then that next week we can talk about probably, if it's 9 episodes, seasons 1 and 2 of Severance as a whole, which we've basically already done all of season 1. But we'll talk about all of season 2 probably in the next coming weeks here, if that's the last episode that comes out. Mm-hmm. But let's wrap up here with that. I mean, I'm glad that we actually finally were able to talk about this show the way that I wanted to after me fucking up everything last week. Cody, again, for the 5th or 6th time, I apologize for spoiling stuff and ruining stuff.
It got
for
me
you.
to-
I felt worse about doing it to you than I did about myself. That's what I was
It got me
worried
to
about,
watch
but-
the show in its entirety, and I'll tell you, I'm not like, would it have been cool to have not known that? Sure. Does it ruin the show? I don't think so.
No,
Fuck no.
no, I
It
don't
really,
think so either.
the show is so good and has so much else going for it that one detail of learning learning more about Helly
Yeah.
did not ruin
Yeah.
necessarily.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's obviously it's a highly recommend. Obviously, you can tell by the way if you watch
Huge.
this whole podcast.
For me, this show might have easily just jumped into like a top 5. Hasn't finished.
Ooh, let's go.
Hasn't finished,
Okay.
but at the quality level and what has been shown, I have no problem putting it there because I feel like it should end on a high note. And at this rate, at least what I've seen, I still put it like it's amazing.
Yeah. Again, like I was saying earlier before we went on, way after when I was doing the outro, I love that. I love it when we do that on the podcast, actually, because it means that we're actually enjoying it and talking about it. But leave us a comment what you think about it, how you're feeling about the show. Like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And yeah, tune in next week. We'll be talking about this show for sure. Other than that, have a good rest of your day. Cancel us, Dylan.
Cancel you?
Cancel.
Okay, I'll say the N-word.